anyone know what's happening anymore? I don't, because I just got laid off. After graduating college and working hard as a pre-medical student and then working for 3 more years at USC to get my master's degree in public health, I graduated and got the dream job. Or so I thought. During the recent budget cuts from federal policy and USC's shocking news with the USC revealing their $200 million in debt due to a recent lawsuit payout, so me, along with my whole team, got laid off. Actually, not just me and my team, but also the whole funding organization, working for 12 years to help people in need in healthcare. So, what now? Hey friends, it's me, Em or Emily, and I'm typically a health consultant, also a small florist and home bakery shop owner, and I do a bunch of different things, especially when it comes to health and lifestyle, but today I'm kind of putting those labels aside and just talking to you guys about just being that unemployed friend, because I've noticed a lot lately on YouTube there's been a ton of different videos talking about how people are getting laid off, and so I'm assuming this is a more common experience than I initially thought, and I wanted to be honest with you all about how I'm dealing with it, but also some of my tips that I'm using to thrive and try to make this unprecedented season of my life as that unemployed friend a little bit more fruitful. For context, I had always wanted to be a doctor since I was 8. I remember the first anatomy test that I took when I was, I think, in elementary school, and I got 100% on it, and I, so excited. I grabbed the test and I ran and gave it to my mom, and she kind of, half jokingly with thinly veiled expectations or excitement, maybe like, oh, you could be, a good doctor. And yeah, Asian. I am Asian, surprise. So naturally, as a Asian child, it's like doctor, lawyer, engineer. I wanted to help people. I had a knack for sciences, and so I thought, this is a good career. And so I, in middle school, I asked a lot of questions. I tried to shadow people. In high school, I did all of the right leadership, trying to do all the student body president, blah, 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 volunteering at clinics. And then in college, I was a medical assistant and did a lot of different clinical work, research. I helped during COVID-19 as a medical assistant as well. And yeah, I also even did a Master of Public Health to further enrich my resume and to show and demonstrate that I had the capability of doing the academic rigor of medical school. But as I kind of continued on more in my master's program, I realized, one, I actually really enjoyed public health and what it had to offer. I love how interdisciplinary it was and how there's a lot more to your health than just the 40 minutes that you get with your physician. And so I thought that was pretty cool, and I was kind of looking at a different career path than just physicianship like I had thought of my whole life. And I think the other thing about why I chose maybe to not become a doctor was a lot of the maybe guilt of not being able to spend time with my family. I noticed my parents and my grandparents were getting older, and I just never really spent time with them, and I just felt like super stressed out just trying to figure out logistically, like time-wise, how am I gonna have kids? How am I gonna get married and date? Like, this isn't, it's really hard for me to envision just being so burnt out and working so hard but not be able to, nourish these other personal aspects of my life. So that's why I was open to changing careers, and I decided to pursue public health. During my program, I was a Korean cancer health companion, or basically like health consultant for people, especially those who have had cancer or wanted to prevent cancer, and I really enjoyed my work. A lot of it had to do with preventative health or creating custom treatment plans, helping people really become more empowered by getting them second opinions with physicians and helping them to really understand their own disease, which I think has been really a joy because a lot of my patients have been so gracious to me and very thankful. And yeah, it was a really great time. It was a really great career that I really enjoyed. My affinity for just having holistic health, utilizing both Western and Oriental medicine techniques has been really fun, especially someone who grew up with an immigrant parent from Korea. I definitely have a lot of those different, Oriental, Asian cultural beliefs about medicine, I should say, that I think have really helped me with my patients in consulting. So I've really enjoyed that. And the thing that I liked about public health and my career over physicianship was that I was able to actually balance a lot of my other hobbies. Like, I am really obsessed with pottery and ceramics, especially wheel throwing. And I feel like doing that, starting a home bakery to help, out a friend who was temporarily maybe homeless, and just, you know, being able to help other people in different ways and just having the time to be present for people was something that I really enjoyed. And I think that's why, even though it was initially really hard for me to let go of, you know, just that dream career, wanting to be a doctor since I was 8, and then moving kind of more into public health, it was easier because I really enjoyed all the benefits that public health as a career had for me. You know, I think everything was going really great until it wasn't. So the organization that I was working for, I guess, suddenly ran out of funds, something about it being unsustainable considering, you know, current events and blah, blah, blah. And also just like USC in general having to pay out a really hefty lawsuit because of one physician who did some not so great things. So there was that, and it was kind of a shock because after 12 whole years of this organization running, so it came as a pretty big shock when all of a sudden they said, oh yeah, we're closing down all our operations for the end of the year, just permanently. And yeah, when I had kind of the call with my like supervisors and my team, which I really love, by the way, they kind of basically told me that they don't have a lot of funding that they would typically have. I think there just was like the perfect storm, a lot of different things. There just was not a lot of funding for research that's happening right now. There was, you know, the whole lawsuit and then a lot of budget cuts that were happening. I just think everyone right now is in a tough time financially. And so unfortunately, my whole team just had to kind of bear the brunt of all these different factors coming together. And that leads me to here, where I got no money. And prior to this, I think the reason why in the beginning I was kind of in denial or just in shock or having a hard time coping with all of this was because I had spent the past 3 years during my program at USC just trying to apply to further schooling and just setting apart time for trying to study for the MCAT, applying for PA schools, PhD schools, all these different things. But either it was like transcripts where somebody messed it up, or PhD schools, they didn't have funding. So the 1 year that I decided to apply was the 1 year that most schools weren't accepting any applicants, which was not fun, only in all of this just to kind of get rejected while burning myself out. And yeah, honestly, I felt pretty devastated. I feel like there were a lot of internal issues that kind of came out, like my workaholism and inability to rest that did come out during the very beginning parts of just trying to wrestle with everything that was happening and trying to wrap my head around all of it. And I just feel like just everything all of a sudden being super like oddly quiet was something that I think I had to really, I don't know, I just had to get comfortable with. I had to get comfortable with like just free floating. And I think because I had just been pushing myself so hard, so much, you know, I graduated early as a pre-medical student in college at 19, and I started my master's program where most of my colleagues were in their 30s and I was 20. Like, I think I was so used to being just like the high achiever. And so when this all kind of started happening, I started diminishing everything that I had achieved up to this point. I felt more irritable, and I kind of felt like for whatever reason, I wasn't living up to my MO or my previous track record. And I feel like obviously when you have like some sort of income that's coming in and then all of a sudden you don't, there is some like financial fiscal anxiety that does come with that, with not having a job. And I think during that time when, you know, you just have so much time on your hands, all of a sudden you don't know what you're doing and you just kind of think, I don't know, I think for me, I just started having this cyclical pattern of thought, just like, oh, but like this doesn't work out because this, and I'm not this and this and this. And I just felt like it was just a self-perpetuating cycle of perceived failure. But I think, and that just kind of made me numb and feel a little bit like I didn't really care about anything or was too afraid to be passionate about anything. But then, you know, after a while, I kind of realized this is more of a temporary phase. Like, I remember how all this time, even since elementary school, like I have not had a single break. Like, I was just constantly doing summer classes, doing the next extracurricular, volunteering. But now I have a break. I do have a break now. And I think it's pretty nice because now I feel like I can kind of focus on what it is I want to do, what feels good for me, focusing on improving my health. Like, I feel like before, when I was a pre-med student, I had an insane, maybe like moon phase from cortisol. But I feel like now I have more time to take care of my health. My skin has never been better. So I think honestly, this has been a really necessary period of me for rest. Since being laid off, I've had more time to go out in nature and even cook for friends and family from scratch and keeping them healthy. I've also tried different hobbies like learning how to garden, and I feel like the slower life is really fulfilling for me. I am, of course, running out of memory on my phone, so I'll make it quick, but basically things that I have been learning is to take better care of my health, and I want to share it with you. So if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. See ya!